Hey everyone, it's Alex here, and welcome to a new guide on Magik in Marvel Rivals. Whether you're just starting out with her or aiming to dominate on the Lord level, this video will walk you through what you should focus on at every skill level, and additionally, I will give you some tips that helped me personally while learning this character. I'll rank these tips by skill level, from Agent to Lord. While they can be applied at any level, this ranking serves as a general guideline moving from fundamental to advanced. Now, let's jump right in. If you're starting out as an agent, the most important thing is to get comfortable with Magik's abilities, combos, and cooldowns. You need to learn how long it takes for your cooldowns to reset and build muscle memory so you can chain them into deadly combos. I'll give you a quick rundown of the most used combos, but since this is not an ability guide, I won't be talking about them as much. Alright, so the first combo you do is basically just a charged up right click and then a slam, left click. That gets like 250 to 75 targets. Then the second one you're gonna do is the shift, left click E, left click punch. That's only for 250 targets, so if you have a Lunar Snow, it won't kill her. As you can see, it's just a little bit of health left. So what you can actually do is, instead of the melee, you do a right click, and that's basically a free kill. And you can also kill them if they're getting healed. So in your ults, you basically want to spam your portals, maybe weave in some left clicks if you have no aggro. And one of the best combos you can do is a shift, left click E. It's basically a one shot every time. You can also right click E, it's also a one shot in your ult. One great tip which helped me quickly learn the cooldowns is to count down your cooldowns in your head while playing. This will help you internalize timings, and you'll quickly develop a feeling for when you have your abilities back up. Another essential tip is binding your melee button to something comfortable and intuitive. For example, I personally binded mine to one of my mouse buttons. This makes it easier for me to quickly land melee attacks, doing combos and in-between swings for some extra damage. I'd suggest the training range as the perfect place to practice your combos, and you can practice the timings on the bots or even use the range below, where you can spawn in AI bots which move to practice on moving targets. The way you get down is basically just down here. You go down here, then you hit this, change it to, I like to change it to Mantis, change it to fixed, just keep this the same, switch it on dynamic, random, no timer, no music. You can just turn it on here. And you can practice your combos here. What is also important for you to know at the start is where to aim to consistently hit your dash. You always hear people talking about aim to the right of the target, whatever. What I would personally suggest is just practice in quick play or practice in the range on these targets, and you'll quickly realize that it's easier than you think. You can also use quick play as a way to learn the cooldowns and just use the countdown method in your head. And you don't have to be scared to try crazy plays or make mistakes, since you're just starting out and it's the only way you learn the potential and the limits of this character. Once you've nailed the basics and built some confidence on Magik, it's time to focus on taking your gameplay to the next level. At the night level, it's all about stepping up your damage output and positioning. Focus on consistently hitting Magik's one-shot combos, since they're going to be your bread and butter for melting squishy targets in the backline. Speaking of the backline, positioning is critical at this stage. Don't just sit with your frontline, waiting for the fight to happen. You can look for off angles where you can catch enemy backlines off guard. Think of it like sneaking around edges of the fight, rather than diving in head on. This makes you harder to predict, and gives you better opportunities to delete the high-value targets like Luna, Cloak and Dagger, or Mantis. This is also the point where the map knowledge becomes crucial. So understanding the layout of each map and knowing the flanks, high grounds, positions, and best escape paths to maximize your effectiveness. I can recommend this guy on YouTube, his name is Healers. He's been the top 1 Magic player since the game launched, and he's also been top 1 a few times. And he's broken down every single map and shown the best paths and routes you can take on Magic. So definitely check those videos out. They help me personally a lot to understand the positioning better. Now that you've got the combos down and you've thought about the positioning, let's talk about what separates a good Magic player from a great one. As a captain, understanding matchups and target priority is your next focus. By now you should have solid ideas of which characters Magic can easily counter and which ones you should avoid or play around. For example, Mantis can sleep you, Luna can freeze you, Namor can put down his stupid turrets, and all of those things you have to keep in mind when diving the backline and thinking about the enemy's abilities and their cooldowns as well before you go into the fight. A good example of that would be if you realize that the enemy cloak doesn't have her shift, her cloak form where she goes invis and invulnerable. You can easily dive her without her having any form of escape, and it's basically a free kill for you if you hit your combo. Also, target priority is a huge topic on this character, since you have limited abilities to quickly eliminate the target. So you have to decide smartly which targets you go for. For example, if you have 1 healer and 2 DPS in front of you, you obviously want to go for the healer, right? If you combine your target prioritization with smart map positioning and map knowledge, you'll easily dominate and carry your team in your games. But once you've got a good grasp of matchups and map knowledge, it's time to get to the real deal, which really pushes you over the edge and enables you to use Magic to her full potential, knowing when to adapt your playstyle. That's why at the Centurion level, it's all about refining your decision making and adapting your playstyle. You need to learn to read the flow of the match and identify when you should apply pressure to the front line versus diving into the back line. For example, if the enemies are grouped tightly around the tank, it might be better to focus on the front line and creating pressure on the front line and waiting for a better opening. On the flip side, if their backline is exposed or out of position, it's your cue to dive in and pick them off. The key is staying flexible and making decisions based on the specific situation in each game. This is also very much dependent on how your other DPS and your tanks are playing. If you have enough damage or pressure on the enemy front line, for example through a strange Magneto, maybe Iron Man, Hela, whatever, you can more freely move around the map, flank, try to go on off angles and basically just pick the healers off. And if the enemies are having a really dive heavy comp and nobody's peeling for your healers, well, it's your job as a DPS to maybe switch to Namor or Bucky and just try to keep your healers alive, you know? Of course, trying to read the game and having a dynamic playstyle is one of the hardest things to learn, but if you just keep playing and don't blame your teammates and think about what you could have done better yourself, you will consistently get better. With your playstyle now more dynamic, it's time to focus on what makes the best players truly stand out. Once you've reached Lord status, the goal is to stay ahead of the meta by keeping up with new tech. At this level, it's very much about experimenting on your own, but also studying high-rank competitive players. You can watch streamers, pros, or even your own VODs from ranked matches to see what new tech people are discovering and what you can improve on. Some of my favorite advanced techniques include edge dashing or countering a Mantis sleep with your little demon. Staying up to date and learning from the best is what separates the top players from everyone else, but the most important thing you need to keep in mind is always the fundamentals. If you master those, advanced niche techniques will only be an add-on to your already high skill level. Alright, that wraps up my tips that I can give you for Magic. I hope you could learn something from this video to climb the proficiency levels and improve your gameplay. If you have any questions or tips of your own, drop them in the comments. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.